If you're listening to this story and your dog or your cat or your pet is next to you, go to another room. Go to another room. Do it. Just do it. Now, don't say I didn't warn you if shit gets weird and maybe your dog starts talking to you. Anyway, if your pet is still here, hi, how you doing? This guy says that he has only shared this story with a couple of people because when he has shared it, people think that he's lying, it's made up, or that maybe he just imagined things. The reason why he's also very comfortable sharing the story is because he has started hearing other stories from people who have experienced similar things, so get ready for this. This guy says that he got home from work very tired. However, his dog Zeus was super excited to see him, started jumping up and down, which was kind of Zeus's sign saying, hey, take me out for a walk. He admits that he didn't have the energy to take him out, but he did because he cared about his dog's health and he took him to a dog park. He says that Zeus is very well behaved, so he doesn't have a problem getting him off the leash and letting him run around. He has never attacked a kid or a person, nothing of that sort, so that's why he's very comfortable letting him loose. Now he's like, please don't judge me. I know I shouldn't let him off the leash, but I promise I'm responsible. I bring doggy bags. Zeus listens when I tell him to come. He has never been aggressive, so, again, he trusts Zeus. So while Zeus was playing and running, he went to go sit at a bench, and he said that he notices that every time Zeus would run, he would look back, find him, and be like, okay, he's still here. Goes back to play, he would stop, make sure that he was still sitting at that bench just waiting for him. It was in that moment when a little kid came up to him when he was sitting at the bench. He noticed that the little boy was looking at Zeus and he was smiling, just seeing Zeus jump up and down and run. He says that the little boy turned to look at him and asked him if that was his dog. He turns to look at the kid and he's like, yeah, that's my pet, his name is Zeus. And that's when the little kid says something that shocked him. The little kid said, you know that your dog talks, right? He says that the little kid was so tiny he didn't want to crush his imagination, so he just nodded yes. Like, yep, I know that Zeus can talk because, what are you gonna tell a little kid? No, he doesn't talk. That's when the little kid turned around almost like to walk away, still with a smile on his face, and he says, my dog told me that your dog was just like him. At this point, he was like confused, but also very curious. And he tells the little boy, well, how could you know any of this? And the little kid simply just said, well, why don't you ask Zeus? Cool. If he's the type of dog that talks, then he's gonna give you a response. The kid then says, because not all dogs can talk, they're not all like that. The kid turned around and left. He turned back to look at Zeus, and he could tell that Zeus was watching him. Almost like if Zeus knew that they were talking about him. And then when Zeus noticed that he was looking at him, he just kept walking and running like if nothing happened. Oh my god. When they returned home, he said that what that little boy said just stayed in his head. And he was playing around. Obviously, like, it was a little kid, he's not gonna believe that, so in a joking manner he turns to Zeus and says, can you talk? Immediately, Zeus's attitude, mannerisms changed. He says that Zeus stared into his eyes for like a minute, and then he just turned around. He went walking towards his doggy bed and he just laid on it. Okay, that's cool, that's fine. Oh my god, I'm scared. He was like, what the fuck just happened? Because he says that Zeus is not this like serious of a dog. Like, he's always hyper, he's always jumping. The way that he looked at him, turned around, went to his dog bed and just stayed there, threw him off. However, he was like, okay, whatever, that was weird, but maybe it's just what that kid told me that's making me feel even more weirder. So he simply went to bed and he went to sleep. So again, he ends up falling asleep, and he says that he was deep into his sleep when he got awoken by a sound of something falling in the kitchen. He immediately gets up and with precaution walks towards the kitchen. He turned to see if Zeus was in his doggy bed and he wasn't there, so he didn't know where Zeus was. He thought to himself that maybe Zeus also got woken up and he went to the kitchen to see what was that sound. When he gets to the kitchen, he notices that everything's in its place. There's nothing on the floor. Like, what made that sound? He has no idea. However, the strange thing was that Zeus wasn't in the kitchen either. So he called out for Zeus, and very calmly Zeus comes out of this like empty bedroom that he has. He says that Zeus looks at him, didn't even get close to him, and just went to lay down on his doggy bed. Almost like if he was someone that Zeus didn't know or that maybe he didn't even care about. Anyway, following day, he goes to work, he gets home, opens the door, and Zeus is not there greeting him like every other day, where he's jumping up and down excited, wanting him to take him to the dog park. Zeus was nowhere to be found. So obviously he was in shock and he calls out to Zeus because at this point he's like, what if he's sick? sick or what if something's going on? So again, Zeus comes out of that empty bedroom, looks at him, and at this point he's trying to get Zeus excited. He gets his leash and he's like, look, you want to go to the dog park? And Zeus looks at him, doesn't get close to him again, and goes and lays down on his doggy bed. To him, he says it was evident that something was happening to Zeus, so he calls a friend who was a veterinarian, and he tells them, look, these are the symptoms, he's not coming, he's not excited, and his friend thought that maybe it was because of the age. He didn't believe that it was that because Zeus's energy switched just overnight. However, he really loves Zeus and wanted Zeus to be healthy, so he did make an appointment to see the veterinarian the following day. That day, they didn't go to the dog park, but he did go to sleep just worried about Zeus and hoping that it was nothing serious and that he was going to be fine. As he's laying there thinking about Zeus, he says that he could hear that someone opened the front door, and after that door was opened, it sounded like somebody was walking. He got really scared because he can clearly hear footsteps, inside of his house, and he hadn't fallen asleep yet, so he knew that it was very real. He wasn't dreaming or anything like that. He said that he had a sword next to his bed, so he just grabbed that sword and quietly came out of his bedroom. The house was dark, but that he could still see that the front door was indeed opened. However, there was nobody in his house and not even the trace of Zeus. He honestly couldn't believe it, but he was like, what if Zeus opened the door and escaped? But he thought that didn't make any sense because the door was locked, you physically had to unlock it. As he's walking out of the hallway, he then starts to hear footsteps behind him. He said that he was in shock, but when he turned around to try to look, he saw a shadow of somebody just run past him and outside that front door. He screamed for Zeus to help him because he was scared and he didn't know what to do. That thing passed so fast, not even the sword could help him. Zeus never came. He never came. He wasn't in that empty bedroom. He wasn't laying on his dog bed. Zeus never came out. So he immediately closes the front door and locks it up. After locking it, he stepped away from the door, and that is when he started hearing something trying to open that door back up. He said that he noticed when they couldn't open it back up, so then they started kicking the door. That is when he screams what do you want? Who are you? What do you want from me? If you don't leave, I'm calling the police. And the thing that he heard back was somebody laughing, almost laughing at him. And that is when he heard a voice telling him,
Alfredo, you wanted to know if I could talk. The answer is yes. And not just that, I can do so many other things.
And then it banged on the door, and he heard when the steps were walking away from his house with a very terrifying laughter. Everything stayed calm. However, he was shaking with fear, and he stayed up the entire night until morning time, and that's when he finally got the courage to open that front door. The door was full of scratch marks. Ever since that day, Zeus disappeared, and he has never seen him again. However, when he goes to sleep in his bedroom, he swears that he can hear Zeus inside of the house. When he comes out, there's nothing there. Even when he gets home from work, he swears he can hear Zeus's steps, almost like when he would get excited and run to the door, but nothing is there. He doesn't know if maybe it's just his memories or if Zeus really is coming to visit him from time to time. But what do you guys think?
Story time about how my boyfriend was obsessed with an OnlyFans girl and cheated on me with that OnlyFans girl. And Loki stalked that OnlyFans girl. Yeah.
I feel like I should put this mic on the headband again. I think it worked last time that I did it. No, maybe I should just put it backward.
Okay, so a little background information. I was 22 whenever this whole situation happened, but we're gonna rewind back to whenever I was 15 to give you guys a little backstory of how my boyfriend and I met. And trust me, I know I make a lot of terrible decisions in this story time, and I wish I had an excuse for it, but I don't, so yeah. Okay, so whenever I was 15, I got into a fight with one of my best friends who was a goody two-shoes because I started hanging out with this one girl and I smoked weed once, and then my best friend thought that I pretty much gone. She thought that a bong was right next to a crack pipe. So yeah, she was like, no, I can't be friends with you anymore. So then I started hanging out with a girl who I smoked weed with almost every day. And that's whenever I was introduced to one of my really good friends, Jay. And Jay was the one who would always pretty much get us weed. But the one night I text him and I'm like, hey, I need some lettuce. Could you get it for me? And he was like, no, sorry, not tonight, but I can have one of my other friends bring it to you. Well, this is whenever I met Matt, who was 18 at this time. Nothing crazy, he just came, dropped some stuff off to my house, and then dipped. And I bought from him a few more times after that. but we never hung out or anything. Well, fast forward 2 months after I met him, Jay and a few of my other friends practically begged me to sneak out of my house and come to this one party. And the reason why they had to beg me was because my parents grounded me after they found my stash. So I snuck out of my house and I go to this party with them, and it was probably around 10 o'clock at night whenever I got there. So fast forward to like 2:30 in the morning. Everybody is outside at the fire. Meanwhile, Matt, this girl Mackenzie, and I were all inside just talking and hanging out. And I got a little bit hungry, so I told them, hey, I'm gonna walk down to the store real quick. I'll be back in probably like 20 minutes. And then Matt goes, oh, I'll take you because I want to get something too. I'm like, okay. Well, then Mackenzie says, oh, I want to go too. And Matt was like, oh, I was gonna drive us and I don't have enough room in my car, sorry. And this girl looked pissed, and you could tell that she had a huge crush on Matt. The only thing was, you couldn't tell if he liked her back, because sometimes the energy was reciprocated and sometimes it wasn't. So it was kind of a little bit, it's giving everybody mixed signals, to be honest. Anyways. So, you know, of course, I get a dirty look from this girl. I don't really know her that well, to be honest. I don't even think that she went to my school. I think that she went to another school. But yeah, so we go outside and get into his car, and I look back in the back seat and I'm like, oh, it looks like there's enough room for her. He was like, oh shit, yeah, I guess there is. And I'm like, if you want, I can call her. And he was like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. And at this point, I'm kind of like, now it's either you really hate that bitch or you want to be alone with me. Yeah, so I asked him, I was like, oh, like, do you not like her? And he was like, no, like, she's like a cool girl and all, but she just gets on my nerves sometimes. And I'm like, oh. And then I tell him, I'm like, oh, well, you could definitely tell that she likes you. And he's like, yeah, I know, but I don't really think of her like that. I think of her as a friend, Now, this is the part where I become obsessed with this man. So pretty much, we get to the store, and listen, I knew that he was a bad kid, okay? I knew that he was known for scamming and selling drugs and robbing people, but I just thought that it was like, you know, small stuff, right? Nothing cray-cray. Well, bitch, I was wrong. So, you know, I get my stuff, and I'm waiting by the door for him, and when he sees me standing there, he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I was gonna wait for you to get your stuff. He was like, no, go to the car. And I'm like, okay, sure. Go to the car, and I'm sitting there in the car. 5 minutes goes by. I get off my fucking phone, get out the car, and look through the store window. This man is robbing the fucking gas station.
Woo, that'll do it. You don't have to worry about me. You do not have to worry about me.
Y'all, he's robbing the gas. I'm literally not even joking. He has a gun held up to the cashier, and I just see the cashier taking money out the fucking cash register, and I'm like, oh, fuck. What did I just get myself into? Seriously, y'all. I was in absolute shock because what the fuck? So then I was like, okay, do I stay? Do I go in there? Do I get back in the car? Do I run? Do I call the police? Well, I sure as hell wasn't calling the fucking police. He would have got out of jail, came and found me next. And then I didn't want to just leave, because I was like, I think him and I are friends now. Friends don't do that to their friends. And then I didn't want to go in there because I did not want to get in the middle of whatever he was trying to do. So in this case, what do? I get my ass back in that car and act like I didn't see shit. Yep, that is exactly what the fuck I did. And yeah, cause no, the fuck. Anyways, so 5 more minutes passes. He comes out. He bolts out of there, runs in the car, starts up the car. We are driving and we pass our friend's house. And I'm like, hey, where are we going? What the fuck? And he's like, oh, they didn't have what I needed there, so we're gonna go to another store real quick. And, yeah, I didn't say anything after that, because I'm like, what am I gonna say? What am I gonna do? Confront this man that I barely know about the fact that he just robbed a gas station? Like, absolutely not. I don't know him. I don't know his temper. Fuck no. Now, I know you guys are probably sitting here wondering, Kaylee, what the fuck does this have to do with this story time? Like, what's going on here? Why are we here? Because I just need to show you guys what type of man this was. Also, wanted to explain the fact that this is kind of why I liked him. I know that sounds so fucked up, guys, that I like him because he robbed a gas station. No, I think it was just, if you've never liked a bad boy, a criminal, a felon, You don't know. You just won't get it. I'm telling you right now, you won't get it. So the least that I can try and do is explain to you guys who have never had an attraction to that. After this, he asked me to be his girlfriend like a few weeks later, and I say yes because around him, I felt protected. Not only that, but people really respected him. And I'm sorry, but I find it attractive to walk into a room and have my man be the one who controls the energy in the room. Anyway, so yeah, that's how my boyfriend and I met. That's how we started dating. And yeah, so fast forward to whenever I am 18 and he is 21, I decide that I'm gonna go to esthetician school. And I also really love photography, so I did that on the side as well, just as a little side hustle. I would mostly do like weddings, and people would come to me to get their senior pictures done if they didn't want to pay like full price at an actual photographer place. Anyways, Matt and I are still together. He still is scamming and selling drugs and robbing people. And trust me, I have tried to convince him to do stuff with his life, but every time that I would try to convince him to actually take a, change career paths, he would tell me no. Like, once you get in this shit, it's hard to get out, blah, 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 this, that, and the next. And I'm like, all right, whatever. I don't give a fuck. Not gonna fight with you about it. Don't care. So, from the time that we started dating up until now, whenever I was 18, we've had some issues. AKA, I've caught him cheating on me a few times. I would say probably like 6 times with all different girls. And there are probably more that I don't know about, but yeah. I'm not going to tell you guys who these girls were, but one of them was literally my guidance counselor. Yeah. And he wasn't a student or anything, so I couldn't go batshit crazy and tell the school. Not only that, I don't think I would have told the school because I'm actually afraid of what he would have done to me. Because y'all, I caught this man cheating once by going through his phone. Let me tell you guys something. I never confronted that man ever again. Because he took that phone out of my hand and he threw it at my fucking head.
Don't be shocked. You're shocked? You're shocked?
I had like a black eye because he threw the phone at my face. Yeah. So yeah, I never confronted him about cheating ever again, or at least anything that I found in his phone, because yes, I was still going through that man's phone. I don't give a fuck. Because in my head, I thought about it in a way as, hopefully, if I keep finding him cheating, which I did, maybe I might get the strength to leave him or something. Anyway, so the one night I decide to go through his phone while he's sleeping, and that's whenever I find a fake Instagram account. That's his, obviously. So I go on there and I see that he is following a ton of OF models. And as I was going through these girls' profiles, I expected them to be like famous celebrity OF models and stuff like that, which honestly, I wish I would have found that instead, because it would have made me less worried about him being able to cheat on me. But no, of course not. These were not girls who wouldn't give him a second look. These were girls that didn't have a huge following, and a lot of them were actually local, which pissed me off even more because I'm like, well, fuck. So then I go and I look at his DMs. There were a few girls that he had started conversations with that actually messaged him back that he never answered. Not because he didn't see the messages or anything, but I guess he just didn't want to. But there was one girl that he was messaging religiously. Like, this man was swiping up on all of her stories. Good morning, gorgeous. You're so beautiful. Let me take you out on a date sometime. Our kids would be so cute. Like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Ridiculous. And then, of course, I go and look, and he is subscribed to all these women. Also, these girls were barely of age. Like, the one that he kept messaging religiously, she was only 18 years old. I'm like, what the fuck? And at this point, my boyfriend is 25 years old. Really embarrassing. Anyways, so fast forward a little bit, I would say like 3 months after I found that, I go through his phone again and I go through his pictures, and y'all, he's stalking this girl, literally stalking her. Like, I'm going through his camera roll and I'm seeing pictures of him sitting outside of it. Like, this is like some You type shit from Netflix, okay? He's sitting in his car, like a picture's being taken from inside of his car, of this girl, who we're gonna call Kayla, sitting in a fucking restaurant eating with her friends. And that was like at 1 PM. And then at 3 PM that same day, pictures of him walking behind her in the mall. And now I'm sitting here and I'm getting a little bit like worried. I'm like, okay, bro, what the fuck is wrong with my man? Like, what do you even do at that point? Leave. Yeah, I know. Okay, y'all are gonna be like, leave him, leave him. I love this man, fuck off. And at this point, like, I seriously don't know what to fucking do. So that's whenever I call Jay up, because him and I were still really good friends. He was way better friends with Matt, but I needed some fucking advice, and I knew that I could always count on him. So I text him, hey, emergency, I really need to talk to you. And he's like, okay, you know, hold on, I'll give you a call, blah, blah, blah. So while Matt's sleeping, I go outside and Jay calls me and I'm like, hey, I don't know what to fucking do. Matt is stalking a 18-year-old girl who does OnlyFans. And he's like, oh, what's her name? And I'm like, I think her name is Kayla. And he was like, oh, yeah. He's like, I already told him that he needs to stop that shit because he's been sending me the pictures that you probably found of him following her. And I'm like, so here's the thing, right? I know you guys are probably thinking, bitch, go off on him. Why the fuck didn't he tell you? We all made like a pact that we couldn't ask Jay anything about each other, because there was a point in our relationship where things were really going south because one of us would tell Jay something, Jay would accidentally tell the other person that thing, and then, yeah, it was just a whole fucking shit show, if I'm being honest. So I didn't get mad at him, but I'm like, okay, well, Jay, I need to know what the fuck to do. And then I'm like, what else has he been doing with these OnlyFans girls or with this one specifically? He's like, you know, I don't want to tell you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, listen, I won't go to him, okay? Because I'm pretty sure that if I confront him about this shit, he's going to punch me in the fucking face.
He gonna get me.
So can you just tell me? And he's like, all right, well, this, that, and the next is going on. He's been following her for like 3 months now. 3 months now. Not only has he been following her for 3 months, he put a tracker on this girl's car. Yeah, guys. So this is whenever I decide, okay, I'm about to take matters into my own hands. Yeah, whenever he was doing a drop-off, you know, whenever he had to go make a play, I called the police on him and reported him, like his tags. I was like, yeah, he's driving crazy. And I just saw him throw a bag of white powder out the car. That was me. I drove and I threw a white powder out the fucking car. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, it's like right by this stop sign on this street and blah, 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 blah. So they caught him and he actually had like a lot of coke on him. So he went to jail.
You know, I had to double it.
Yep. He went to jail. He didn't go to jail for that long though, like 2 months at most. I keep forgetting that this does not have a mirror. So yeah, and then he was on house arrest whenever he came home. So I figured this might be the perfect moment to confront him, because dude can't leave the house. Now that I think about it, if you guys question why I didn't just confront him about it before, like over the phone or something, and then leave, well, it's because I didn't want him to leave me. Like, I really had a fear of this man breaking up with me. I don't know why. I just loved him so much that I thought that it was love, but you know. Anyway, so the one night we're sitting down watching a movie, and while we're laying there, I see his phone go off, and it's an Instagram DM from somebody, and I didn't even care if it was from a bitch or not. I figured, all right, time to confront this motherfucker. So I get up, I turn the TV off, and I'm like, we need to talk. And he's like, what do we need to talk about? Like, can it wait till after the movie? And I'm like, no, it can't. And you put your hands on me, I'm calling the fucking police, and you'll go back to jail. And he just looks at me with this dumb look on his face. He's like, and I'm like, yeah, go to fucking jail. Again, ho. And I'll tell him about your fucking stash. Don't play with me. Anyways, so he's like, what do you want to talk about? And I'm like, what the fuck is going on with you stalking an 18-year-old girl from OnlyFans? Also, what's up with you fucking harassing her on Instagram? It's embarrassing for you. It's embarrassing for me. She doesn't even fucking reply to you. Like, what are you doing? And he's like, I don't know. I'm not stalking her. That's one of my friend's girlfriends, and he wanted to know if she was cheating on him, so he asked me to follow her around for the day. And I'm like, dude, you're lying. I saw the DMs between you guys. Or between her not answering you. I saw the DMs. And he's like, what DMs? So I go on his phone to show him, and of course, there's nothing there. Y'all, when I tell you I wanted to literally jump over the couch and strangle this man, I really wanted to. Like, it took everything in me not to get physical with him, because when somebody is sitting there fucking gaslighting you and manipulating you and lying straight to your face whenever you know it's the truth and not taking you serious about a serious situation, oh, it just really hits that one nerve. It really does. So now at this point, I'm like, oh, so you didn't put a tracker on her car and you haven't been stalking her for the past 3 months? We ended up fighting about it all night and we did not fix any problems, come to a resolution or whatever. And he didn't even fucking apologize, even though I know that everything that I was saying was complete facts. So then the next day at work, y'all are never gonna get, well, you're probably gonna guess what happens. This bitch comes in to the spa that I work at, and guess who they send her to get waxed? Me. They booked her with me. So she comes in, you know, we start talking, and we start talking about her job, OnlyFans. And I'm like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Do you ever get worried that there's weirdos out there who might like follow you and shit? Like, have you ever had any stalkers? And she was like, I mean, not that I know of. She was like, there have been guys that have became a little bit like obsessed with me, but nothing that's made me like super uncomfortable. And I'm like, oh, well, that's good. You know, just make sure that you're being careful. And then I make up this story about how my one friend did OnlyFans and how she had a stalker that put a tracker on her car and, you know, following her around for months. She must have believed me, though, because 2 days later, she came back into my work and she was like, I'm not here for an appointment, but, like, I had to see you and tell you thank you so much. She was like, there was literally a tracker on my car. And I'm like, oh, my God, are you serious? And she was like, yeah. And, like, apparently there are these magnetic boxes that people will stick to the bottom of their car that might have, like, a spare key or something in them. And she found one of those under her car, and inside of it, yeah. So then, yeah, she pretty much just thanked me and told me that I probably just saved her life, and then she left. Well, y'all, listen to this. So I go home the one day, well, that same day after work, and when I walk in, my boyfriend's sitting on the porch and he's on the phone with what sounds like Jay. And he's like, bro, like, I don't know what happened to it. Like, it's not on no more. You know, can you go get me another one? And then I hear Jay say, bro, I'm not doing that. That's weird as fuck. I told you to stop this shit. Like, it's weird. And he's like, fuck you, bro. And then hangs up the phone and then comes inside. And I'm sitting there and I got a smug smile on my face because I'm like, yep. No more stalking 18-year-olds for you fucking pedophile weirdo. I know you guys are probably sitting here like, girl, why are you still with him? Leave me alone. I know, okay? But I go through his phone again like a week later, right? I see a voice audio message that he left this girl in her DMs. And he's like, bro, can you please just answer me? Like, I really like you. I want to take you out on a date. I know it seems weird that I've been messaging you, blah, blah, blah. He was like, you should know I'm not the type to blow up somebody's phone or chase someone for a long time, but I really like you. So she actually messaged him back and she was like, hi, sorry, didn't see any of your DMs before. Are you free this weekend? And he's like, yeah, I'm free this weekend. What you want to do? And she was like, I don't know, maybe we could go out to lunch or something, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay, sounds good. Which I'm sitting there and I'm like, how the fuck is this motherfucker gonna do this when he literally has a fucking ankle monitor on? So the weekend comes up and I'm not even worried about this because I know that he was probably just lying to this girl. But then Saturday at 2 a.m, I wake up, this motherfucker's gone. And I'm like, there's no fucking way. I'm looking all over the house for him and then I start blowing up his phone. Doesn't answer. Nope. Well, then fast forward to like 6 a.m. I've been sitting on the couch waiting for this motherfucker to get home all night. He walks in and I'm like, so did you and Kayla have fun? He's like, bro, what are you talking about? I'm like, no, we're not doing this again. And I told him I'm leaving him. I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. And listen, y'all, I've said that time and time again. And he really thought that I was bluffing because of how many times I've said that and then never left. But I packed up all my shit and I went to my parents' house. Like, I was not about to be disrespected like this, like in my own home. At this point, it got to the point where he mentally fucked me up so much that I was trying to find any excuse. Like, I even told myself that maybe that was somebody else's Instagram account that he was logged into and it wasn't him sending her those messages. So, the story's not over yet. Nope. Barely. I leave him. Now, I've never left him before, okay? Like I said, he always knew that I was bluffing. because I would maybe go to my parents' house for a night and then I'd be back. And it was embarrassing as fuck. But fast forward, a week goes by. I hadn't texted him. I hadn't called him. Nothing. I honestly stopped going to work for, like, I called off for a few days, like maybe like a week, because I was so exhausted. So y'all know what they say, stay until you hate them. And I stayed until I hated that fucking man. So then, fast forward a few weeks, he starts blowing up my phone the one night. He's texting me, I miss you, why would you leave me? I thought we were in this together. I'm so sorry for everything that I've ever done to you. You deserve the world, and I'm ready to give that to you now. Fuck these bitches that I've been fucking with on the side. They don't compare to you. Like, wow. What a nice compliment. Like, thanks. The fuck? So yeah, he's like, I love you so much. I'll prove to you that these bitches mean nothing. And I'm like, it's too late. You can't prove to me that these girls mean nothing because you've literally always put these girls above me. And he's like, bet, I'ma prove it. Come to the apartment tomorrow night. Now, I know y'all are saying, you stupid bitch, don't go. Y'all are gonna be happy that I went. I was happy that I went. Because I show up there. This motherfucker has that girl, Kayla, literally tied up in the living room on the floor. Yeah. I'm like speechless, and I'm standing there and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And he's like, I did this for you. He was like, I'll kill her right now.
Oh, hell no.
And I'm like, no, don't do that. 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 And so now I'm trying to play it off. I'm like, babe, no, the fact that you did this alone just shows me that you're ready to take this relationship serious and that you don't give a fuck about these bitches. He's like, no, he was like, I did you so dirty. Like, I feel like I really need to prove to you that this bitch means nothing. And he points his gun at her. And I'm like, no, like, babe, like, actually, like, you're going to ruin the life that we could have if you do this. Let her go. Da-da-da-da-da. Finally, I talk him into letting her go. She runs out of the apartment. She recognizes me, and she gives me like the most, one of those looks that like in disbelief, because she realized why I told her the whole tracker story thing and everything. And then after that, I'm sitting there with him, and the police show up to the door. Yeah. And so I get up, run over to the door, open the door, run out of there, and he's like, I love you, babe. Blah, 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 blah. This is for you. Da, da, da. I'm sorry. Blah, blah, blah. He starts shooting at the fucking cops at the door. Yeah. They killed him. Like, they shot and killed him. But yeah, that's the end of that story. I mean, like, I got a long, nasty message from that girl, which I deserved in the end because I did know that he was stalking her. But yeah, guys, moral of the story, at least in my case, when I saw him pointing the gun at that cashier in the gas station, that should have been my cue to get the fuck out of there. But I liked having a bad boyfriend, you know, some hood dude who would protect me from who, I don't fucking know, his ops. So yeah, moral of the story for you, you don't need a bad boy. I'm telling you right now, you don't need one. I know that inside of you, it's like when you see the nice guy, you're like, ugh, ick. And then when you see the bad boy, you're like, oh my gosh, that's the man that I want. You need to sit there and think into the future, not into the moment where you put them on a pedestal because you think that they're the most amazing person. And that's the thing, guys. Whenever you get attracted to somebody, you put them on a pedestal that they're higher than somebody else because they have qualities that other people don't. Meanwhile, they have qualities that other people have. You're just not willing to look at the qualities that these other people have that are the same because you've put them on a pedestal. You need to take that person back off of a pedestal, compare them to other people around, and be like, oh shit, this person isn't as special as I made them out to be. They're just like everybody else. And yeah, that's all.
Am I the asshole for not allowing my son to go to his paternal grandparents' anniversary barbecue because his father's stepchildren will be there? I, 33 female, have a 7-year-old son with my ex, 35 male. Almost a year ago, I was given full custody of our son, and my ex was awarded supervised visitations. The reason for this was the abuse our son was suffering at the hands of his father's stepchildren, 12 and 13. Absolutely not. I would be trying to press charges on fucking everybody. This was a very difficult battle to win. It started 3 years ago when my son came home from his father's house, and my ex announced he'd gotten remarried over the weekend, and he wanted me to pay half towards the clothes he bought our son for the wedding because they got ruined. First of all, bitch, 1, no. 2, why the fuck is it my responsibility to give you half the money towards the clothes that you chose to buy him for an event that you chose to take him to? 3, what the fuck happened to the clothes that they got ruined? Of course, I didn't pay half, but I did ask why he expected me to pay and why the clothes were ruined. He said he felt like we should split the cost of big items like that. No, I'm not going to do that without us sitting down and discussing this first. You made the purchase on your own. That's on you, big boss. Then he refused to answer how they got ruined. Later that evening, when I was bathing my son, I noticed some bruises on him and it made me suspicious. He mentioned his arms hurt and that the big kids had done it. A few weeks later, my ex called me and asked me to come and calm our son down. He said our son was hysterical and he had been unable to calm him. What the fuck happened to my baby? I mean, what the fuck happened to your baby? When I got to his house, our son was still crying and wanted to come home with me. My ex's wife said that one of her kids had accidentally stepped on my son's foot and my son got scared. Oh, he's scared all right, but not because someone accidentally stepped on him, because they are hurting him. He's terrified. He's hysterical because they are hurting him. He's not safe there and he knows it. Bitch, girl, I'm sorry, OP? I would have flipped the whole motherfucking house over. Flip that bitch the hell over. I could hear one of her kids in the background calling my son names and saying they wanted to shut him up. Over time, things got worse. There were more bruises and more days where my son would get very upset at his dad's house. I spoke to my ex who said his stepkids were taking it bad that their mom had remarried and they had lost their dad only 4 years prior, and it was difficult for them. So you're allowing them to take out their anger and frustrations on your 4-year-old? There's a special place in hell for people like this. Are you fucking kidding me, sir? He said that he and our son weren't their favorite people, but he said that it wasn't a big deal. I decided to document these incidents and injuries anyway because it appeared to me my ex was not concerned and our son could be at risk in his home. As my son got bigger, he began to verbalize more and more about what was going on. It pisses me off that you had no choice but to allow this shit to continue to happen until he was able to tell you exactly what was happening to him. 3 years this baby was hurt at the hands of his father's stepchildren, and nobody was able to do anything. All you could do was document the situation. Girl, the way me and the people would have been best motherfucking friends, I would have called the people so goddamn fast. The stepkids treated my son like shit, and they weren't embarrassed or ashamed to be rough with him. He'd get pushed and grabbed, and a lot of these accidents were happening. I put in a few calls to CPS, and they started to offer resources. It pissed off my ex, but I was worried for my son. The verbal incidents weren't on CPS's radar, really, but the physical stuff, they had also documented, and some of my ex's family had witnessed things, and a few even sent me rundowns about what had happened. Okay, I like this. I hate that it took so fucking long. Goddamn. But I'm glad that the people are now involved and his family is seeing that this shit is going down and they know that he's failing to protect his son. So they're stepping up to let you know what the fuck is going on. My question is, what the fuck took them so long to speak up? But that's not important. That's neither here nor there. I'm glad that something's being done about this. The incident that brought us to me getting full custody was my ex and his wife leaving the 3 kids alone for hours together. The stepkids dragged my son out of the house and locked him in the garage on his own, where all the dangerous power tools were being kept. My ex tried to fight for his right to retain custody, but CPS and the judge agreed it was not safe for our son. The reason he only gets supervised visits is his stepkids are not allowed to be around my son. My ex's parents are celebrating their wedding anniversary next month, and they want my son there. But my ex and his family are invited and will be attending. I told them I could let them do something with him another time, but if his stepkids were there, my son won't be. They, along with my ex's older brother, feel like I'm being unfair and too strict and not trusting them to keep my son safe. You mean like all the fucking times you kept him safe before? Like you mean the fact that you waited until I made a CPS report to come forward and give me the rundown of what the fuck was going down? No, I don't trust you to keep my motherfucking son safe because you've already shown me that you are completely incapable of that. My son wasn't safe with them in the past. I know that for a fact. So am I the asshole? Absolutely not. You're not the asshole. As his mother, you have the responsibility to keep your son safe from any and everybody, including those that he shares a bloodline with, especially those he shares blood with. It's clear as fucking day that everybody knew what the fuck was going down, but nobody said anything. No one said anything until you started to create a fucking trail because they wanted to make sure that their hands were clean. They wanted to make sure it was seen that they were on your side and they weren't in support of what the fuck their child, their family member was letting happen to your fucking son. Absolutely not. You are not wrong. My child would never be around these people ever fucking again because it's clear as goddamn day they do not care about his safety. I was able to answer my own goddamn question as to why the family waited so fucking long to come to OP to say anything. But baby, no, you're absolutely not the asshole for wanting to protect your son and keep him away from those people. No, especially his dad and his fucking stepmom, because they knew exactly what the fuck was going down. And they lied. They covered it up. They just blew it off. Oh, it's not a big deal. They're upset. They're going through a tough time right now. No, I would never have my baby around any of these people.
My in-laws left my 4-year-old son home alone. Everyone in my life is telling me that I'm completely overreacting about this situation, but I don't think I am at all. I actually think I'm underreacting. I've never necessarily had any issues with my in-laws, but they are very much my way or the highway, and this has especially become apparent since I had my son, and they just do not respect any of my parenting choices. For example, I really didn't want to introduce my son to fast food when he was young, but they went behind my back and bought him a Happy Meal. Again, not like the biggest deal in the world, but I was like, he's not your son. Like, respect my parenting choices, please. These little things were just annoying. They were never doing anything that made me feel unsafe leaving my son in their care. Starting last year, every month or so, my son would have a sleepover at his grandparents' house. He absolutely loves being with them. They love seeing him and spending time with him, and my husband and I get a date night, so it ended up always working out. Yesterday morning, it was time for me to go and pick up my son from my in-laws' house, and I give them a call to let them know that I'll be there in about 30 minutes. And that's when my mother-in-law says, well, we're actually on our way out, and your son doesn't want to put his shoes on, so we're just going to leave him here, keep the door unlocked, and you can just come in and get him. I truly, at my core, thought she was joking because he's 4 years old. You're going to leave him alone? And I started laughing. I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. I'll be there soon. She's like, no, I'm not kidding. Just come in. We won't be there, but you can just grab him. Okay, no. I spelled it out for her. I said, listen, we have two options here. One, you can wait literally 30 minutes for me to come and get my son. Or two, you can pick him up, shoes or no shoes, put him in the car, take him wherever you're going, and I'll meet y'all there and I'll get him from there. But what you're not going to do is leave my son home alone. My 4-year-old son. My mother-in-law just grumbles on the phone. Okay, well, whatever. Be here in 30 minutes and just hangs up on me. And I think that is that. I just know I'm going to complain to my husband about it when I get home, but I don't think it's going to be an actual issue until I get a call from her 10 minutes later. My mother-in-law has the audacity to say in the cheeriest voice, okay, we're actually on our way to brunch right now, but your son's fine. We just left him at home. He's on the couch watching cartoons. Just let us know when you pick him up. I could not believe it. I was floored. I saw red in that moment, and I start going off on her at the phone. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean my son is home alone right now? Didn't I just tell you, do not leave my son alone? And she's downplaying it. She was like, oh my gosh, you're overreacting. We have a Ring camera. So if anybody was to get into the house, we would know. Okay, what? So you see somebody coming into the house to kidnap my son on the Ring camera? What are you going to do? You're at brunch. You're elbows deep in some pancakes. You can't save him. Also, he could fully just walk out of the house. He's tall enough to reach the door handles. So what if he decided that he just wanted to walk outside by himself? Or what if he got hurt or started choking on food? There's so many things that could happen. He's 4 years old. You cannot leave him unattended. At this point, I'm actually screaming on the phone. I'm still 20 minutes away from my son right now, and they're only 5. And I tell her that if she doesn't turn around the car right now and then send me a photo to prove that she's home with my son, I'm going to call the police on her. And she knew I was serious. Apparently, my son's safety wasn't going to cause her to turn the car around, but the threat of me calling the cops on her did. So they did turn the car around and went back home to be with my son as they should have been. So he was only by himself for 5 to 10 minutes, but that's 5 to 10 minutes too long. I get there in record time, immediately grab my son and go home. I didn't even look at my in-laws. I couldn't even believe what they did. That was absolutely so insane to me and so irresponsible. When I got home, I told my husband that there was no way that his parents were ever gonna be with our son unsupervised again, because if they did this, what else are they doing that we don't know about that's putting our son in danger? Silly me, I thought that my husband would agree with me and see that this was actually detrimental to our son's safety, but instead he's saying that I'm overreacting and that this was just a one-time event, they made a mistake, he would have been fine, I just need to get over it. And I saw in a text that my mother-in-law sent to my husband that she was referring to me as a crazy helicopter parent. I'm sorry, since when does not wanting your 4-year-old to be unattended a helicopter parent? I just want him to be safe. I think I'm completely in the right for making it a rule that my in-laws can now only see my son if my husband and I are with them. But my husband and my in-laws think this is absolutely ridiculous. So let me know what you think.